The problem is y'all don't ever want black people, black Americans, to make that distinction. Y'all don't like that. Y'all think whatever we do has to be shared amongst the whole diaspora. Why? Because we ain't got no specific name for ourselves. We call ourselves black people, and that applies to too many of y'all. And then whatever we try to make the distinction, it makes it seem like we're trying to start a diaspora war. No, if you can say this is Haitian history, Jamaican history, we can say that this is black American history and not try to credit the whole continent of Africa for that.
Some people stand up and rise. Some people sit and cry.
What's happening? Why delineation or FBA isn't really a problem? The talking points is y'all got y'all's, we got ours. Shouldn't be a big deal. But I'm gonna add some things. Okay, first, now people want to claim FBA or Black Americans when they're in America. But when you're outside of America and whatever home country is, whether it's Caribbean, Central, South American, African, even in the UK, social media wise, there's a lot of anti-Black America stuff going on. So it looks like y'all, what we know to be true really is you guys like America. You don't like Black America. You're just happy that Black America made a way for you to come to America. You get what I'm saying? Or Black America has done enough to pave the way for opportunities for whatever group you are in when you come here. So that's one thing. Another thing is this. Let me separate some places. There are people there are Africans who have like Black people are African, and it's like Africa lost its claim to Black America long ago. You didn't care about the Africans that were in the whole Western Hemisphere. Honestly, y'all didn't care about them, and this is how this shows up to us. So when it's Black America, oh, we part of Africa, and y'all say the Caribbeans, the Caribbeans are the Africans, the Central and South Americans are Africans. But here's the thing: generally speaking, it doesn't look like Africans want to move to the Caribbean or Central or South America. They want to move to the United States of America. Interesting. For the Caribbeans, doesn't look like generally you want to move to Africa. Yeah, do move to the UK, that's for sure. It doesn't look like you move to other islands in the Caribbean, and Central South America. It doesn't look like you move around there a lot. Generally speaking, if you had to pick between, if I would have to pick the places that you would go, I would say United States of America one, the UK two. So getting back to the point, y'all really never cared about Black America. Y'all cared about America and the American dream. And we were just, we were open enough to try to make a lane for all Black people globally to come here. But generally, most of the Black people that came here, they didn't like Black Americans. Generally. And and I say it this way. Let's just say the civil rights was the mid 60s, right? By from the 60s to the 80s, there was already distaste and already that y'all of them, it was already that. So when people go, well, Black people back in the day, those are the Black people that we like. No, because you didn't like them either. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be a liar and say they weren't Black people who were Caribbean that weren't a part of the movement, because there were some. Stokely Carmichael was one. How can I be forgetting people? Jesus, I just, Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, they were part of that stuff. Were some Caribbeans involved? Yeah, absolutely. But it was overwhelmingly Black Americans. But we're gonna give credit to where credit is due, and I see that's a problem too. You other groups come here And in all honesty, you can't give credit to us. It's just like, it's a hard thing for you guys to do. Not generally. There are people who go, yeah, something's off, something's wrong. I see that too. But generally, y'all have a hard time. Like, you got people, well, and this is where, because what I was about to say, I'm going to preface it. This is where we look at people sideways, because there are people who generally believe we're coming to America, that's white man's country. And it's like, so why you ain't come before? Since why, how come you not 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations in? Since it's the white man's country and it doesn't matter. It's a reason you didn't come before. It's a reason. And then, part of the delineation is also this. Some of you guys, you want to attach yourself to Black history, and it's very disrespectful. Like, let me do this. Let me say it this way. Some people in the Caribbean consider Malcolm X Caribbean. His mother was from Grenada. But nobody says, like, yeah, but Grenada didn't. His Grenadian family didn't do nothing when his father got his life taken. His mother stayed here till she died. There's nothing about Grenada in the story of Malcolm X. You get what I'm saying? I don't even think he went to Grenada in his life, and he didn't. He went a lot. He went Africa, Middle East, if I'm not mistaken, Japan. He went a lot of places, but I don't think that was one of them. But people claim him. He's like, maybe you claim him, but he realized you didn't claim him. Y'all claimed Malcolm, but Malcolm knew y'all didn't claim him when he was alive. You get what I'm saying? That was a thing. Oh, I forgot. Of course, Elijah Muhammad. Forgot. I'm tripping. Even in Louis Farrakhan, definitely parts of the movement. But still, the delineation part comes in where, and I don't know how to say this nicely. We are the small. Even during the slave trade, we were considered one of the smallest, if not the smallest, populations of quote unquote slaves from Africa came to the United States of America. And that's part of it. Also, when people have an issue with the Black people already here, it's like, yeah, because but at the same token, we're looking at it like, especially on the Western Hemisphere, slaves was from the United States, all the way to South America, Brazil, Lower Brazil, Argentina, all that other stuff, right? So when it comes to what are the great things that Black people have done in, let's just say, the Caribbean, Central, South America, what it looks like is Black America is the only group that has a gang of global, not impact, not just influence, but impact. You get what I'm saying? So some of the things you think about, some of the things that y'all think makes America great is actually what Black people created, what Black Americans created. You know what I mean? The world has EMS and ambulance. They have that. That's a Black American thing. Helicopters, Black American thing. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got lights in your house. And people try to credit Thomas Edison, but it really wasn't Thomas Edison. It was Lewis Latimer, who was Black, and Nikola Tesla, who was Russian, who's white. Those were the two people that gave you the electricity that we know today. The direct current is Lewis Latimer. The alternating current, if I'm not mistaken, is Nikola Tesla. So that's a thing. What winds up happening is And I'm just, putting small things out there. It's other stuff, but let me use it this way. You have black people in the UK who have an issue with black Americans, right? But they look up at Big Ben. That what is Big Ben named after? Who? It's not a Jamaican. It's not an African. That isn't like that. I'm not trying to dump on you, but that's the point. Benjamin Banneker, which make it still to this day makes no sense to us because like y'all don't like us, but hey, Benjamin Banneker. You get what I'm saying? So this even part of what y'all think about the American Dream, the White House. Those slaves built that White House. Benjamin Banneker basically laid out the city of Washington D.C. to be, and now it's the beacon for your you go to America because there's a lot of black immigrants that live in D.C. in the DMV. So what I say at the end of the day, our delineation and distinction comes from actual comes from a place. Not it's not really a disrespectful place, you know. When y'all came here, y'all hyphenated whatever y'all were. That's a general thing, you know. Even white people, who most of them lost their culture. That's why they just consider themselves American, because they can't claim Irish and Italian. Well, Italian still can, but it's hard for them to claim those things: Irish, Italian, British, German. It's like, because you're really not welcome in your homeland. And when people come from other places, you want to rep where you're from. You're Haitian American. You're Ghanaian American. You're I was about to say Guyanese or whatever, Belizean or Kenyan or Ugandan, and it's all good. Jamaican. I was about to say Haitian, but I already said Haitian. I was thinking of which one call it Dominica. Some of y'all don't know it's a Dominican Republic and it's a Dominica. Or you from St. Kitts, Nevis or something like that. Or you from Brazil. Um, there's nothing wrong with that. You want to rep where you at? Cool. But we do have to make a distinction of who we are because what wound up happening is um, there was a hidden competition and a hidden hatred. And it's like, okay, we get it now. Cool, cool, cool. No problem. Which is one of the reasons why generally our groups don't hang out like that. Because what it looks like, and I'm being nice when I say this because I think it's true too. I think people come here who migrate from somewhere else, and they're looking for or a resemblance or a semblance of their people from their home country. So if a Jamaican came here but they met another Caribbean, it would be cooler because we might not be from the same island, but we have Caribbean ties. And I get it. Everybody gets that. Central American. Whether you Panama, you know what I mean. I think it's Central America. Panama, Belize. Even South America. Brazil. You have that like, oh, I got somewhat kind of my people. And sometimes it's a language thing. Sometimes, these people speak Spanish, so you have a thing with that, like Latin America or whatever. Same thing with Africa. This person might be Nigerian, this person might be Senegalese, this person might be Kenyan, but since they're all from Africa, they're more comfortable with each other, and we get that. But when we go, okay, well, y'all, we us, and it's like, whoa, we were supposed to be separated from you, but black when it's convenient. You can't say we gonna be black and y'all gonna be y'all now. And it's like, oh, we got an issue with that. It's like it's not your issue to have, really. It's really none of your business. In all honesty, we're not telling you that you know. And you know what? I'm gonna go back. Sometimes people really thought we as Black Americans was telling people when you're in America, you're black. That's a thing. And what happened was we were trying to tell you once you get here, you're going to be treated as you're black. You don't actually have to be black. You just have to look black enough until you're going to be treated like you're black. And people would come here and they would do the I'm not them. And I remember I had a college professor like that. He said, yeah, he did the same thing. He's like, look, you gonna look at me black, but I'm from here. Hear my accent. I'm not like them. It's like because they didn't want the same treatment. And when we were saying you black, they was like, no, no, no. I'm gonna make sure I'm different because I don't get your treatment. And I was like, okay. And what wound up happening is those people did that, and then they had kids, and their kids couldn't run away from that treatment, no matter how much they tried. But I want you to be proud of who you are, and where you're from. This is our family. This is our culture. This is where we're from. So you're this, and it's like cool. And we do that here in America. Like we're proud of where we're from. If you're from New Orleans, you're proud of that. Chicago, you proud of that. Detroit, you proud of that. L.A., you proud of that. So it's like we're all in America, but we still rep where we're from too. You know what I mean? So we get that in premise, but when you come in from another country, you shouldn't be mad at us for saying we're from this country, they're from that country. Not a big deal. But when you made it a big deal about it, that's what made it a big deal. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Catch you on the next one. Peace.